very much for joining, everybody. Apologies again for the delay. Welcome to today's licensing subcommittee, and the first item on the agenda is appointment of the chairman. Is there a proposer for chairman, please?
Yes, Councillor Nod. Sorry, go on.
No, I was going to propose Councillor Beryl.
I'd politely decline, so I'd like to propose Adrian Cartwright, Councillor Cartwright.
No, I'll second.
Perfect. Thank you very much, Councillor Cartwright. You've been duly elected chair. Over to you.
Okay, thank you. So this licensing subcommittee premises application hearing is underway with myself, Councillor Adrian Cartwright, as chairman. Councillors, could you introduce yourself, please?
There's Councillor Julie Davenport of Farcotton, Delapre and Briar Hill Ward.
Okay.
And Councillor Beryl, Kingsford North.
Okay, and clerk, please.
Ed Bostock, Democratic Services Officer.
And legal, please.
James Chadwick, legal advisor to the hearing panel.
Thank you. Licensing authority.
Michael Sands, licensing team leader.
Thank you. And the applicants, please.
Yeah, Rajesh Kunti here. Applicant, yeah.
Thank you. And you have an agent?
Yes, I think he's joining now.
Who was that?
Frank.
Hello, can you hear me now, Chair?
Yes, thank you, Mr. Fender. Yeah.
Yeah, I can see my picture there. You just couldn't hear me. Yeah, Frank Fender. I'm the agent representing Mr. Kunti this morning.
Thank you. Do we have any objectors present?
No, Chair.
Okay. Okay. In that case, have all parties received a copy of the agenda for today's hearing?
Yes.
Any preliminary issues anyone wishes to raise?
No.
So this hearing is in respect of the aforementioned application for a premise license. I'd like to invite the licensing officer to introduce the report, please.
Thank you, Chair. So yes, the purpose of this report is to consider an application for a new grant of a premises licence for Whitehills Post Office, which is situated at 12 Whitehills Crescent in Northampton. The subcommittee is therefore asked to determine the application for the grant of the premises licence as required by Section 18 of the Licensing Act. The application for a premises licence was received on the 4th of September this year by the Licensing Department, and it was deemed complete. The application is seeking permission for the sale of alcohol only, off the premises only, Monday to Sunday from 6 in the morning until midnight. The application is being made by Mr. Rajesh Kunti, who is also applying to be the DPS, which is known as the Designated Premises Supervisor. Mr. Kunti does hold a premises personal licence, I beg your pardon, number PA2120, which has been issued by this council. During the 28-day statutory consultation period, we received no relevant objections from the responsible authorities. However, the Licensing Department did receive 2 objections from members of the public, which is obviously why we've had to bring it to committee today. And therefore, the options, as always open to the committee, would be either to grant the premises licence subject to the conditions as appropriate, if it considered necessary to promote the licensing objectives, to exclude any of the licensable activities, to refuse to specify a person as the premises supervisor, or to reject the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. Okay. Mr. Kunti or Mr. Fender, who wants to go first?
I will be speaking on behalf of Mr. Kunti, Chair.
Thank you.
Thank you very much. And as you've just heard from your officer, this is an application for a new premises licence at the post office, Whitehills Crescent. The application is to open and to sell alcohol from 6 in the morning until midnight every day of the week. You will see from your report pack that there are several measures proposed within the application which promote the licensing objectives. I won't go through them in detail. You've seen them in the report, but they are exactly what you would expect from a shop premises selling alcohol. For example, CCTV, staff training, Challenge 25, to name but a few. Mr. Kunti is the applicant. He is also the proposed DPS, designated premises supervisor. He is an experienced operator of licensed premises. He's held his personal license since 2012, and he has also held premises licenses, notably at a one-stop shop in Mansfield from 2019 until 2023. He sold that business and then he bought another one-stop shop near Peterborough, where he was the premises license holder and the DPS. He's recently acquired more premises. He is now the premises license holder and DPS at the Star General store in Northampton, the premises license holder and DPS at the Hackleton store just outside Northampton, and now he proposes to be the DPS and premises license holder at the Whitehills post office. What I will point out, Chair, at this moment in time is that in all of his experience, he's never had any issues, never experienced any issues for any of the authorities. There's never been any allegations, any complaints. He has an extremely good track record of operating licensed premises, licensed to sell alcohol. As you've heard from your officer, there are no representations from any of the responsible authorities. And I emphasise that because that is significant. None of the responsible authorities, the statutory consultees, have had any communication with me around this application. I do take that to mean they are happy with the application, happy with the measures proposed, and there's never been any request for any amendments, any additional conditions. They would appear to be satisfied. But of course, we are here this morning because there are two representations made by other persons. It's a shame that neither can turn up to this remote hearing. The reason I say that is, although one of the representations is from somebody who provided an address to give their proximity to the premises, the other longer representation gives us no information at all other than to say that they live with close vicinity to the post office. Whatever close vicinity means, I don't know. But if I can address the first representation from the person at Greenhills Road, Chair, I'm bound to say that this representation has no relevance to the four licensing objectives whatsoever. The representation is based on need and demand, and as you will be aware, and as detailed in your report pack, need and demand are not a consideration for you today when determining this application. If I can turn now to the second representation, which is a little bit more detailed, but I intend to go through this sentence by sentence because the vast majority of this representation is also, I submit, totally irrelevant to the licensing objectives. The first concern, there is no need or requirement for another premises. Not relevant, Chair. The second, this premises is on the edge of Northampton with next to none passing foot traffic. Irrelevant, nothing to do with the licensing objectives. The next, there is a pub already opposite within meters. Not relevant. The next point has a tenuous link to the licensing objectives because they state by allowing this post office to stay open from 6 till midnight, it will encourage street drinking and antisocial behaviour. A very generalised statement. No evidence to support that whatsoever. You will also be aware that the Section 182 guidance at paragraph 2.1 states that the police are your main source of advice on crime and disorder and antisocial behaviour. There is nothing within that sentence to suggest why it would lead to street drinking and antisocial behaviour. The next comment, there is a Morrison's directly next door. Totally irrelevant. There are also two Tesco stores within certain distances. Totally irrelevant. The next point talks about fly tipping, litter. That can become relevant, of course. But the comment is made that the fly tipping in front of the post office is awful and an ongoing issue. And by allowing the post office to stay open until 12 AM daily will encourage further fly tipping. It's my experience, Chair, and I'm sure it's yours as councillors, that people tend to dump rubbish in doorways of empty premises. These premises are no longer empty. They are in operation. that in itself would prevent people dropping litter there. I understand that there is a litter bin close to these premises, a public litter bin, which often fills. And what happens is when people have extra litter, instead of trying to force it into the bin, they leave it down the side. Again, if that's happening now, that's nothing to do with the licence holder. The licence holder will keep the outside of his premises, which are under his control, clear, clean and tidy at all times the premises is open to the public. So again, very little evidence to suggest that fly tipping is going to be an issue at these premises. The next comment made is that the volume of traffic is already ridiculous. Traffic volume, not relevant to the licensing objectives. And the final comment is people park so dangerous, and parking is the responsibility of individual drivers. It is not the responsibility of a license holder. Therefore, another comment deemed totally irrelevant. Chair, you probably guessed from my tone that I'm going to ask you to give very little, if any, weight to these two representations. As I say, it is a new application, an experienced operator with no issues, no representations from any of the authorities. Paragraph 10.15 of the statutory guidance, which is also contained in your report this morning, states that you should be looking to grant alcohol hours for the same as trading hours unless there is good reason to do so. A good reason might be that the premises are within a cumulative impact zone, but these premises are not within such a zone. Northampton does not have a cumulative impact policy. Chair, the Licensing Act is permissive legislation, which means that you should be looking to grant applications unless there are good reasons to refuse. I would respectfully suggest that there is nothing in the representations before you this morning which provide you with those reasons to refuse, and I would therefore ask you to grant this application as applied for, Chair. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fender. I think you went succinctly through the objectors' letters there. Can I ask anyone have any questions for Mr. Fender?
No, thank you, Chair.
No, I think Mr. Fender covered everything. Although I would like to say that, you know, it's the people that have written it. I do understand anyone having concerns. I'm not saying that I agree with them. And it's always good for democracy as well, that they can have their say. But that's it.
May I come back on that, Chair, please?
Please.
I agree totally with you, Councillor. I too respect every person's democratic right to raise objections. The only thing I would like to see is where those objections are relevant to the licensing objectives as per the legislation. I know that people don't understand the licensing objectives. I do understand that. But I do believe that if people want to put a representation in, then come and talk to the meeting and express the concerns in person. Because we get a better understanding of their needs, and we could adjust things to suit their needs. But of course, they're not here, so we can't really achieve that today. But I do take the point, and I agree with you.
Yeah, thank you.
Councillor Cartwright, you're on mute.
Yeah, I'm finger trouble there. Thank you. Yeah, okay. All parties will have the opportunity now to sum up. Licensing officer, you don't need to represent your whole case again, just a quick summary if you want to.
Nothing further to add. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you. And Mr. Fender, if you'd like to have a sum up.
I can't add anything to what I've already said, Chair, but I would like to ask a procedural question, if I may, at this point. I'm quite used to remote hearings not providing a decision on the day. I'm not sure whether the decision of your subcommittee today will be announced shortly, or whether we're obliged to wait the extra 5 days. The reason I say this is because this license, without any representations, could have been granted by the 3rd of October. So there's already been a 3-week delay in Mr. Cunty being able to provide alcohol products with his other products. I would just ask if it's possible, and you may need to seek your legal advisor, that we could have the decision as soon as. It would be much appreciated by the applicant.
Yeah, I was just going to say, Mr. Fender, I will pass on to legal in a moment, but that is the procedure, all right, James?
Yes, the process that this council usually takes is to invoke the 5 working day rule and to give a decision in writing within that time. If I can, I mean, obviously, what will happen is the hearing will end. The councillors will discuss and come to the decision, and then a written decision notice will be prepared, approved by them, and then distributed to the parties within within 5 working days. I mean, if there's a request to try and expedite that process, then that can be taken into consideration. But just we have had other premises licensing subcommittees this week, so we wouldn't be able to expedite it to the extent that it would be out today. But we can endeavour to try and get it out as soon as possible. But there is no obligation on a licensing authority to be responsible for a premises license holder not making as much money as they would like, I'm afraid.
I do fully understand that. Pre-pandemic, when meetings used to be held in person, of course, a decision would be given verbally, followed up by the written decision within 5 working days, and that was always deemed a practice. And as you will appreciate, it's the pandemic experiences which moved us to remote hearings. A lot of councils have gone back to in person. A lot of councils maintain remote, and I'm just trying to think for the life of the business. I appreciate that commercialism doesn't come into licensing. Fully understand, but if there is a way to communicate the decision verbally, so the applicant could at least get started, that would be appreciated if it could be expedited.
Well, I mean, you say that before the COVID lockdowns, but that would appear to be just practice by individual authorities. The licensing, the hearings regulations say nothing about verbally delivering decisions. So I'm sure some authorities may have done that. That was not my experience of the authorities I've worked for prior to 2021. But I mean, all I can say is that we'll endeavour to get the decision to yourselves as soon as possible afterwards, Chair, with your approval of that.
Yeah. Thanks very much for that. Okay. Does everybody feel they've had the opportunity to say whatever it is they wish to say? Nobody wishes to add anything? No. Okay. In that case, the subcommittee will now retire to make our decision, and the decision of the subcommittee will be communicated to all parties in writing within 5 working days of this hearing, and details of how to make an appeal against a decision of the subcommittee will also be included. Thank you very much for your attendance, everyone.